In my hand is the world's best flavor. Better than vanilla, better than cinnamon, better than chocolate. No, I stand by that. Better than chocolate. But first, we start in the rainy green forests of southern India and Sri Lanka. With high humidity and rich soils, this is the world's spice belt. This amazing spice is grown in the shade and understories of humid farms and is part of the ginger family. Native to the Indian subcontinent, this spice is now cultivated across Southeast Asia, Central America, and other places I want to go on vacation during winter. This spice comes in a couple different varieties, but the one we're talking about today is the most widespread. This is green cardamom. I can't wait to show you what we're doing with the cardamom today. But if you've never had it, you should know that cardamom is beautiful and fragrant and you're really missing out. And honestly, it's a shame that it's not used more in the West. Surprisingly, cardamom does have Scandinavia in a chokehold, but that's a story for a different time. Cardamom comes in lovely little green pods with a hard green husk on the outside. It has hard black seeds on the inside and a white paper that surrounds them. Now, cardamom is very distinct. It has really no substitute. Speaking of things that have no substitutes, there's nothing like liking this video and following. Hey. To understand the flavor of cardamom, we should talk about the volatile compounds that are there. Don't worry, it's not going to get super sciencey. This is the only chemical name you're going to hear. There are two main ones. The first one is terpineal acetate. The second one is eucalyptol. These compounds are what give cardamom its distinct, beautiful flavor. And that's why it has a similar flavor profile to other things that contain those volatile compounds: menthol, cedar, bergamot, camphor. Now, to get the most flavor out of these pods, it really depends on what you're doing with it. If you're doing something like a sweet application, I would recommend that you would crush or grind these in order to get the most fragrance out of it. But if you're doing something like a savory application, I would lightly crush these pods and throw them into whatever dish you're making whole. Now, while this spice can be used 100 different ways, from kulfi to biryani to coffee, I'm going to show you one of my favorite and simplest ways to use it. We're going to make cardamom tea, or in Hindi, elaichi chai. Take a mug, fill it with water 3 times, and add the water to a medium-sized pot. Turn the burner on high and start heating your water through. Take roughly 2 cardamom pods per mug, so in this case 6. Side note, cardamom loses its strength really quickly, so I don't recommend grinding up a lot of it and then trying to store it. Now here's my secret. Blitz these in a spice grinder and then add 2/3 to the water. Let that start to infuse. I'll show you what to do with the remainder later. Measure out roughly 1 tablespoon of loose leaf black tea per mug and add it to the water. Here I'm using Wag Bakri, which is my preferred brand, but you can use any black tea as long as it's strong. Something along the lines of an English breakfast or Irish breakfast tea would be great. If you're using tea bags, I would suggest about 2 bags per mug. Also, if you want to add sugar, do it at this stage. Now, I personally believe that cardamom benefits from a little bit of sweetness, which is why I'm adding about 2 teaspoons of sugar here. Once the water is infused, add 3 mugs of whole milk to the pot and keep the flame on high. Important, do not walk away during this. Don't walk away. Don't walk away. Do not walk away. You will only need to learn this lesson once, twice if you're bad at learning. The milk contains a lot of protein, which is going to cause this to boil. You want to make sure you keep an eye on this because it does have a tendency of boiling over. Now, if your milk is coming from the fridge and is stone cold, put it in the microwave for a few minutes to warm it through. It'll really speed up the process. Bring this all to a boil and keep boiling for about 5 minutes until everything is well mixed. Now here's the reason why we add the cardamom in 2 different stages. Remember those volatile compounds I was talking about before? Yeah, they're volatile. They disappear. We add the cardamom in earlier so that there's a long cooked flavor of cardamom and all of that can come out, but we also add it at the end so all the nice fragrant notes come out in the tea as well. About 2 minutes before you take it off the stove, add your remaining cardamom in. Pots of tea have a tendency to boil over when you cook them for a long time, especially in cases like chai. If this happens, don't freak out. Just pull the pot off of the heat and wait for the bubbles to calm down. Afterwards, you can then put the pot back on the heat. You may have to do this a couple different times, but in the traditional way of making chai, this is actually a really positive thing because it means that all the ingredients are being incorporated well. Now, sometimes you may make a pot of tea and it doesn't want to boil over or bubble up that rapidly. That's cool. Flavor's gonna be great. Don't worry about it. Usually it means that your water content is off a little bit, or you might be using a bigger pot than necessary. Feel free to also pull your tea. You can do this by taking your ladle, putting it in the pot, filling the ladle up, and then pulling into the air and pouring it out. This repeated motion helps to aerate the tea and increases the flavors. You get the sweetness of the sugar, the astringency of the black tea, the floral notes of the cardamom. It is truly delightful. I really hope you find a way to make this. It is one of life's greatest little joys. If you have a question or something to add, feel free to leave a comment. Until then, I'll see you next time. Bye.